I am Couch Cooper and going to be looking at Battlefield 5 or Battlefield 16. It's not confusing, and that's a Roman numeric 5. The next one was Battlefield 1. Strange thing is, the copy I've got doesn't have this image on it. It's got this image on it. Super weird that it's sort of changed around. Having like a blonde dual-wielding bombshell on the front cover of your World War II game just made them look a bit daft. It wasn't about sexism, it was more about just out-and-out inaccuracies. But that was 2018, and it's good to have this game put on the PlayStation 5. We do see some improvements. I got a little bit obsessed with Battlefield 1. I actually matched it up with Zimmerman's Dunkirk soundtrack. I'll put the link in the description. It's spent the last 6 years absolutely smashing it on the internet. And someone put in the comments that it's 5 minutes 20 seconds too long. The video is 5 minutes 20 seconds long. Is this a better single player campaign than Battlefield 1? Does this look really good on the PlayStation 5? And does it hold up to current day modern military shooters? We're all about to find all of that out.
I am speaking to you from the cabinet room at 10 Downing Street. This morning, the British ambassador in Berlin handed the German government a final note. I have to tell you now, this country is at war with Germany.
Are you even going to talk on this video? Yeah, I'm just soaking it all up. The story is broken down into, I think it's 4 chunks, it might be 5, but basically you've got a desert English campaign at the front end. It's quite colourful, it's quite pretty, and you've also got the delectable Mark Strong giving voiceover.
Death is death, no matter where you are, and suffering is the same in every language.
That flawless swing from that cutscene into engine like that, you sort of get goosebumps a little bit. You remember how good DICE games can actually be. And Mark Strong is a fellow Baldy, and there's only him, Jason Statham, and myself left, I think. Unlike Battlefield 1, this campaign is broken up into like digestible chunks, and these columns give you access to different parts of the war, but there's an introductory front end which is like a vertical slice of all of them, and you get loads of destructibles. This looks absolutely fantastic. The Libyan desert, the music kicks in as well, and you're kind of like, wow, I'm back in the Battlefield room. This is running at a peg 60 frames per second, and it's got upscaling in it, so it's actually 1880, so it's not quite 2K, but it's not 1080, but it did only capture at 1080 because of that fluctuation. Doesn't bode too well with capture software. It's a very dynamic system, and when you've got it on larger TVs, everything does look pretty damn good. You notice popping more than you do that non-4K. Want to play that clip again? This is me getting into a vehicle, think I'm in the driver's seat, clicking the R2 and letting off a bunch of bullets. Imagine being a real soldier and actually doing that by accident. Imagine how dangerous you'd look, and also observers seeing you do that. Stuff like that with the game still makes me chuckle. But this is one hell of a long shot, but I got tiny little minute vibes from Metal Gear 5's sort of roamy desert thing with an objective. You know there's blokes around it, you've got to take it at your own pace. You can steal vehicles and go in. There is a tiny little bit of sort of choice and open world with it all. And you may run into stuff that you didn't realise was there, have to take evasive action. I was quite impressed with how loose a grip they had on the structure of this first stage of campaign. You can catch the AI completely asleep at times though, and it has an alarm system that comes more into play with the later stages of this campaign structure. We'll get into that in a second. We change locations and things become very much stealth. This is quite run and gunny. You do have a choice of how to get in and blow all these stations up. A lot of fun though, and this is a great place to start with it all as well. Big explosions, loads of vehicles around, a big expanse and good looking graphics. I was quite taken in by the water. That still looks pretty good. DICE, you know, they look after you with stuff like this. Boats, planes, and vehicles in this game have always been head and shoulders above a lot of the other big name franchises. What are you doing, mate? You right? Looking at a digital puddle. Can we get on with this, please? One of the things I do love about this campaign is the German dialogue and the choice to have it translated to you. It can result in some seriously funny situations. I also thoroughly enjoy the destruction, and any Battlefield fan knows this is a major selling point for this engine. Things blow up, they disappear, the battlefield metamorphosizes over time, and on the multiplayer that's absolutely fantastic, but on the single player it's brilliant to sort of introduce it to enemy structures. I think it's the only game that bothers taking time putting in the sound of the dirt coming back down to the ground. Surely the senior people at Treyarch, Infinity Ward, Activision sit and look at this game and look at each other and go, guys, our engine, our 2010 engine doesn't do any of this. Everything just stays around. Even a single brick won't slide across the battlefield. None of the kids who play Modern Warfare seem to care that they're using stuff that's going to be there for the whole game map. No, if you're a connoisseur on the FPS front, you're into Battlefield. A minor complaint that's just in is that it does not have enough flying sections in it. Battlefield 1 put you in like a bi-wing really quickly. By the way, that's another amazing, gorgeous cutscene straight into in-game engine. And I wanted to mention the sort of end-game chunks at the finals of these 4 pillars. They're really good, and the first one sends R1, I've got muscle memory as a grenade, I just have. And so you'll see me go to the binoculars quite a lot, thinking I'm going to throw a grenade. It sends a convoy of tanks to you basically, and you're on a hill, and you've got so much arsenal and weaponry around you. It's a brilliant sort of horde section to mark the end of this English SBS campaign, and there's also the Long Way to Tipperary playing you out. Quite an emotional one, and it really does pitch well as your first look at this section.
Det finns utallige historier om skumle skapninger I de norske skoger, løytnant. Men det du burde bekymre deg for, det finnes ikke der ute.
This is the start of the Norway campaign, and they're talking about like some sort of Wendigo thing in the woods, like monster that the Nazis can't get, and it's just some little Norwegian lady in a pair of woolen mittens, but it's so cool with the skiing section at the front. So this one is so much more sneak, and you get so much more reward, and there is an alarm system. They'll set it off, the reinforcements are a lot stronger, and the detection is a lot more higher from the enemy AI. It's great to sort of get vantage points, go through the binoculars, position everyone, and take down incrementally these little bases.
Vielleicht habe ich's mir nur eingebildet.
You get some genuinely really tense scenes. This map also has got a real GoldenEye vibe for me, and you're not really supposed to be detected because they'll get on the mounted guns. The whole thing will become very difficult for you. Trying to go full Solid Snake here over this bridge, have a little crouch down in the snow, and just a truck full of them pulls up. You end up just having to deal with things, little occasions like that, keep me coming back to military campaigns like this. Personally, I kind of really enjoy this sort of gameplay, going from room to room, and you also need to look at what sort of enemy you're dealing with because it could be a medic, he can bring people back, and there's loads of points where if you alert the enemy, they can really pin you in, and you've got to just scuttle out. It's very cool, creeping around and being like this silent killer type. Brackets until you meet someone with a flamethrower. Graphically, because it sort of takes place at night and it's sort of vast Norwegian, almost Arctic, barren countryside, it's not going to drop everyone's jaw, but this shot on the alarm guy will. I've still got it, still got the old twitch reflex. You're not online, mate, it doesn't count. Sticking with the graphics, however, it does depict one of the coolest images of the Northern Lights I've ever seen in a video game. Very cool, very tranquil. So this is the third slice in the campaign, and you're in occupied France, I think Normandy, and you're fighting as a, I'm going to say North African because of the French and the Tommy Cooper hat. I was actually supposed to look through the binoculars that time, can you believe? And this was what I really wanted when it came to campaign content on Battlefield 16. It's grueling, it's vast, heavily populated, also borrows a little bit of that multiplayer mechanic with having to take points over. You're working with quite a large team. This is brilliant stuff and it looks incredibly gorgeous.
À l'immensité de la guerre, une autre fourmi, un autre cadavre, et pour ne pas me laisser abattre, je me disais, je suis aimé, je suis un tirailleur, et que Dieu nous aide.
Yeah, fighting in there, in those spikes, those tank traps, and dealing with snipers up on that hill, and there's big Nazi installations that you've got to take down piece by piece. You're gradually going through this section. I remember a multiplayer map looking quite similar to this. By the way, I will stop and say in this video that this game has sat on my shelf for a goddamn 4+ years. Never touched this campaign, and it's a travesty that I let this happen. And it's also happened with Battlefield 1. It's about at this point I thought, thank God I downloaded this and checked it out again, because if it had sat there for another 4 years and I'd not realised how much work and cool stuff had gone into this quite single player focused campaign material, I'd be super annoyed with myself that I didn't get all I could have from that disc. You pay the money, you should receive this content. Just the multiplayer, I think it was 62 hours or something like that, and never touching the campaign. With Battlefield games, maybe not some of the recent ones, maybe not Hardline, but this stuff is certainly worth checking out. Just dawned on me that there is no real progression with this single player content. Once those pillars are done, they're done. You can work on them all at the same time as well. You don't get like a special accolade or anything to sort of bolt on as you start a new mission. And it is quite crazy and random how they lay the guns around. You have to really know the roster of Battlefield 16 to get your head around a lot of what they're throwing at you on a military hardware front. Alright, we can read this together if you like. I've just watched that White Tiger, that Russian. I think it's on Prime. It's it's okay. A lot of subtitles, but worth a look. The Tiger tank is a legendary war machine. Allied guns can fuck. But you get the idea. It was one of the most terrifying war machines ever to be created by human beings. A truly horrific piece of gear. We'll throw in unreliable and difficult to maintain into that sentence, but nonetheless, the Tiger tank is one hell of a beast. You guessed it, our final slice of war paradise is in the form of a Tiger Tank mission where you take command and you go through occupied France / Paris. It's heavily populated, you're using the streets, there's quite a lot of destructibles around. It is very cool. At this stage, I'm thinking, where are my aeroplane dogfights? And the truth is, a lot of them have it segments at the end, so you just got to keep going. Don't worry, you will get that itch scratched. The crumbling streets and the way the buildings just dissipate, red fraction style after taking a bullet from the Tiger, is unbelievable. I say a bullet, a shell, a mini missile. And you've also got a lot of British tanks and European tanks around in this mission. There is loads of tank on tank stuff. It really does go straight for the T word. If I was having to rank these 4 chunks, I would put this number 2 and the previous mission we just saw in the woodland as number 1, and then of course Norwegian as 3, and then 4, no, Norwegian's the last one. 3rd is that British desert campaign. That's actually really funny, and those two have quite good dialogue together. You will be smiling organically from some of the stuff they say. I'm going to leave you guys alone now, and if any of you have relatives or family members who were involved in those 2 horrendous wars, then we all need to doff our caps and pay them the respects they deserve. I'll leave you with this brilliant outro. I have been Couch Coop. I will see you down there.
Sons and daughters, mothers and fathers. We have no world without them. And there is no other world.
Hallo? Hallo? Ist da jemand?